I laid in the queen-size bed I would soon share with my sister Jessica, cuddled in the warm fluffiness of my mother's arms, and watched Disney's The Little Mermaid. Again. I was enamored with Ariel, the fable's precocious and finned protagonist, and mystified by the romantic bloom of her cartoon red hair as she dashed exuberantly around schools of fish and oceanic flora. Leaning back so that the hind of my skull was encased in my mother's breast, I reached up, tugged on the crunchy black cornrows that curled about the furrow of my ears, bunching and shrubbing down the nape of my neck, and stretched my hair as long as possible. I didn't hate the crinkling back kinks in my hair. In fact, I loved when my mother teased them into thick afro puffs. But in that moment, all I wanted was a long flowing mane that would flutter down my back like ocean waves. My brown fingers itched to trace the texture of Ariel's lavender seashell bra and flashy jeweled scales. Ariel's belly was lean and taut, almost concave, and mine was round and hard, a firm punch underneath the soft sculpt of my chest. I wondered if I would ever be able to swim in her sea kingdom, rummage through sunken chests of pirate's booty, and giggle with the freedom and frivolity of a mermaid princess if I wasn't skinny, if I didn't have long, pretty red hair, and if I couldn't grow a tail. Ariel's life was drastically different than mine. Where she was drawn and animated with the liberty of grace and speed, I was awkward, clumsy, always running into walls and tripping over my feet. Other mermaids shifted out of her way when she swam by, and yet walls and toys seemed to sprout out of thin air, jump in front of me, and laugh as I bumped against them. Ariel could do these intricate flips and Olympic tumbles. I couldn't even walk in a straight line. She was so ballsy. She would stand up to her father, Triton and all, and do whatever she wanted to do whenever she wanted, traveled across the ocean to pursue any trivial desire she had. My life was a structured regimen created and sustained to prepare me for a career and marriage success. I woke up every morning at 6 to help my father garden, then ate breakfast, showered and dressed, went to school. There was prayer, computer classes, piano lessons, tutoring, karate, ribbons and bows, Sunday dresses and evening wear, play and homework time. I learned how to talk around men and how to talk around women, how to talk on a job interview and how to cross my legs, how not to put my elbows on the table, which fork to eat with, how to develop good credit, the importance of responding to all gifts and meetings with thank you cards, the importance of vases, how to keep a clean house, what it meant to dress for the occasion, that I should only date and marry men that made $20,000 or more than me, the importance of keeping secret bank accounts and homes in other states so that said future husbands would never know about, just in case, how to manipulate future husbands so that he thought he was running the house when it was really me, and most importantly, that how I looked and behaved when I left the house represented not only me, but my family and all of Black America, and that I should never go anywhere, and I mean anywhere, without iron matching clothes, lipstick, a purse, several business cards, and at least $20 in cash. Unlike King Titan, Ariel's wondrous and dynamic father, my daddy was Lord. No decision was made without his approval, period. I feared him as much as I loved him, and though I often resented it, I couldn't help myself from obsessively adoring him, from craving his attention and validation. I wished I could be as apathetic and self-validating as Ariel. Spunky, funny, and assertive, that fish was the ultimate diva. But more than anything, I was attracted to her passion. Ariel was as much a romantic as I was, and even at age 5, I knew that I wanted more than anything was to fall in love over and over again with as many people as possible. Though Ariel only fell in love with one person, a human prince named Eric. Their romance was tragic and inspiring, rippled with drama, desperation, and yearning. She fell for Eric for the first time she saw him, which only happened because she was bold enough to subvert her father's attempted dominion and travel to the ocean's surface. However, they were of two different species. Eric had legs and genitals. Ariel did not. Thus, She was embarking upon a love that was destined to be catastrophic and unrequited, similar to my crush on Mark Hansberry, the beautiful sixth grader who lived down the street and was already the star of a Saturday morning TV show. I grew up in LA, almost everyone I knew.
Yeah!
Woo! I was ambitious, and though it wasn't until my 5th unreturned love letter that I decided to give up the chase, but Ariel, a much stronger woman than I, determined to pursue her love, was completely happy to change her body and give up her mermaid heritage and legacy if that meant acquiring the man of her dreams. My dad always says, Jezebel, to get what you want, you have to work hard and be willing to sacrifice. I wondered if Ariel's dad gave her the same advice, because she immediately decided the solution was to approach the evil sea witch Ursula, who we know was evil before she spoke, because she had tentacles, dark skin, a black tail, yes, short graying hair, a deep voice, and she was fat. To negotiate a way to rid herself of a tail, grow human legs, and walk on land. Ariel was lucky, because if she weren't a Disney cartoon, this would have required a painful and expensive surgery that she might not have recovered from. Years of practiced cultural assimilation and the fortitude to reject and disassociate herself with her family, her friends, and her cultural norms. But to do this, all she had to do was drink a magical elixir for the tiny price of her voice. Well, I didn't think giving up her voice was that tiny. I mean, how else would she have to talk her way out of getting a ticket if the police harassed her? Or to tell the boys who always hung out in front of the liquor store that she wasn't in a gang, she didn't want any trouble, and no, she cost more than $20. Or to scream stop if someone touched her inappropriately, or fire if someone tried to steal her purse, or even si se puede at rallies like the one her babysitter would take her to after school. This was a sacrifice she was willing to endure for true love. Besides, she didn't really need a voice. She was that close to having a beautiful, strong, wealthy, white man in a position of political power to protect and care for her. The only thing was, he had to kiss her before kissing another woman. Because if he didn't, her fishtail would grow back, condemning her to a turmoiled state of manlessness, leglessness, and voicelessness. Which was cool with Ariel, as she agreed to drink the elixir, lost her voice, and wound up unconscious and destitute on a beach, moments away from being rescued by hunky Prince Eric and entangled in his masculine and protective arms. Because of her beauty, alongside her willingness to be dependent, thus validating dear sweet Eric's masculinity, though the cartoon posted as her good spirit, and possibly the fact that she was young, thin, naked, and silent, the prince began the process of falling in love with her. That is, until Ursula drank a dark portion that gave her Ariel's beautiful voice, turning herself into a stunning human girl named Vanessa, and taught a generation of 5-year-old girls magic-based strategies for female competition and man-stealing. That was one part of the movie I just couldn't understand. Vanessa's character was gorgeous. Prince Eric was cute with his big blue eyes and perfectly starched black hair. But if I were Ariel, I would have dropped him for Vanessa in a heartbeat. I could not relate to the idea of two beautiful women who would ever compete over a man, especially when they could have each other. Mommy, I said to my mother, I think Ariel and Vanessa should just get married like you and Daddy, I said, running my fingers through the long strand of my mother's long, straight salt and pepper hair, imagining that Ariel's felt just like hers, only wet. Well, Jezebel, she responded, lingering over my name, awkwardly running her fingers around the collar of her neck. That's just not the way things work. She explained that it was against the law for two girls to get married. But Ariel's dad was like the king. He could change the laws, duh. See, the thing is, it's against the law because a lot of people think it's wrong. In fact, her dad might not support her and might even banish her from the kingdom. Sometimes boys who love boys and girls who love girls are murdered. My jaw dropped. My heart began to pound. I felt this great gush beat in every tender spot of my body. That's horrible. I thought weddings were supposed to be happy because they're about love. And Jesus said, love everyone. If her daddy banishes her, it's because he's a mean man and he should go to church more. I muttered righteously, my bottom lip poking out, my eyebrows lobed in frustration. I wish everyone had parents like you and Daddy. I know you wouldn't banish me or my wife or my husband because you're good Christians. And God said you're supposed to be nice to everyone and not kill nobody and not steal and not let nobody starve and put oil on your visitors' feet so that they can be comfortable and not have ashy skin. Come here, baby, my mother giggled, leaning down and beaming hard at me. I love you. You are very special. You will need therapy later in life. But for now, don't worry about a thing. Those people who hurt other people because they're different are just evil. Just promise me that you'll remember no matter who you choose to be with, you were made perfect, and that your mom loves you just the way you are. My mom sighed heavy, and I turned around to face her. Cross-legged, my knees lay softly against the spread of her inner thighs. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes, nudged my forehead into her breast. I love you too, Mom. When I grow up and marry my husband or wife or both, I want you to be my maid of honor. She leaned forward, wrapped her soft, plush arms around me, and kissed my forehead. Turn around, baby. Sebastian the Crab is about to sing Kiss the Girl, and I know that's your favorite part. I turned around, leaning my head back against her lightly rolling belly, and giggled because my mom knew I hated that part of the movie. Listening to her try her best to emulate the digital crab's appropriation of a Caribbean accent, I smiled and thought about how beautiful she was. My thighs were spread wide, their outsides grazing the dimpled inside of my mother's. I love the contrast of her skin. Mine, the color of moist black soil below the beam of fairy sunlight. Hers, reddish brown like desert-flaked clay. I leaned forward, rubbing the softness of her skin, the ripples from where fat was deposited, the rough sternness of her knees, and wondered if mermaids could also be brown and chubby. I liked my mother's body. It was lush, stretched spherical, lined and shaded a perfect curvilinear. When she sauntered past my father, if they weren't fighting, he would reach out and smack her behind, sigh, and mutter, "God damn," just like a brick house. My mother would giggle, like he told her she was the most beautiful person in the universe. Though I was definitely a fan of architecture, I always thought my mother was prettier than any brick house I'd ever seen. None of the mermaids looked like my mother, though. They didn't have her beautiful body. They didn't look round and comfortable. Their skin didn't come in a million shades of edible earth like my family and friends. I couldn't wait to grow up and wear brightly colored, tight-fitting, low-cut sundresses to show off the thick curves for which I would pray nightly. Or to grow out big 5-inch afro like my father's and garnish it with the black power afro thick that all the men in my neighborhood wore. I decided that as much as I wanted to be an underwater princess, I couldn't do it if I didn't get to grow up and look like the people around me, talk like the people around me, sing and dance like the people around me, and be proud of the people around me. After turning back around and looking up into my mother's coffee bean eyes, I realized that I would never have to or even be willing to make the sacrifices that Ariel did for love. I already had plenty of it. Thank you.
Yeah!